I tried to shield you from the pain, but every time I stayed silent, the truth tore me apart. You may not understand it now, but I had to let go of what we had for both of us to heal. I never wanted to be the reason you cried, but the space between us grew too wide, and I had no choice but to say the words that would break us both. You made me choose between my happiness and holding onto the illusion of us. I couldn't keep pretending anymore, and walking away hurt me as much as it hurt you. It was never my intention to hurt you. I spent so many sleepless nights fighting the urge to stay, knowing it would only lead to more heartbreak for us both. I've been wrestling with my conscience for so long, trying to find a way to make this work without shattering us. But when you left me no choice, I had to put myself first for the first time. I didn't want to hurt you, but the truth is, every time I held on, I was hurting myself more. I had to choose the lesser pain, and that meant letting go. I prayed that you would understand why I had to walk away. It wasn't because I didn't care. It was because I cared too much to keep letting you drag me through this cycle of pain. I thought I could endure the silence between us, but the longer I waited, the more I realized that staying was breaking me in ways I couldn't repair. So I had to walk away before it destroyed us both. My heart was torn in two, knowing that the truth would hurt you, but keeping it hidden would tear me apart. I had to choose honesty over comfort. I never wanted to be the villain in your story, but every path I took led me further from who I was. I had to walk away from us before I lost myself entirely. I stayed in hopes that things would change, that somehow we would find our way back to what we once were. But you kept pushing me away until I had no choice but to leave. I fought for us for so long, but every time I tried to reach you, you pulled further away. Eventually, I had to stop fighting for someone who wasn't fighting for me. I didn't want to break your heart, but pretending everything was fine while we were crumbling inside was more painful than the truth. I had to let you go for both of us to find peace. I held on for as long as I could, hoping you'd give me a reason to stay. But when you gave me none, I had to face the reality that leaving was the only way forward. I've asked myself 1,000 times if there was another way, if I could have stayed without losing myself. But the truth is, you left me no choice but to walk away. I stayed longer than I should have, hoping that things would change. But in the end, I realized that the more I stayed, the more I lost who I was. I didn't want to hurt you, but pretending everything was okay was slowly breaking me. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was the only way to save myself. You may think I didn't care, but the truth is, I cared too much. That's why it hurt so deeply to make the decision I had to make. But in the end, it was the only choice left. I didn't choose to leave because I stopped loving you. I left because staying was causing us both more pain than either of us could bear. I tried to make it work. I tried to hold on, but every time I reached out, you pushed me further away. In the end, I had no choice but to let go. I wanted so badly to make things right between us, but every time I tried, it felt like you were drifting further away. I had to leave before we both drowned. I never imagined a day would come where walking away felt like the only option, but your actions left me no choice. Staying meant losing myself, and I couldn't do that anymore. I thought I could endure the pain of staying, but every day that passed, I felt myself slipping further into a place where I didn't recognize who I was anymore. I wanted to stay. I wanted to fight for us. But every time I tried, it felt like you were pushing me further into the darkness. In the end, leaving was the only light I could find. I never wanted to be the one to hurt you, but staying in this relationship was breaking me in ways I could no longer ignore. I wanted to love you through the pain, but you kept closing the door on us. In the end, I had to walk away to protect what little of my heart I had left. I waited for so long, hoping you would see me again, the way you used to. But the more I waited, the more invisible I felt, until leaving became the only choice I had. I didn't walk away because I stopped loving you. I left because I realized that staying was only causing us both more pain. I didn't want to hurt you, but every day I stayed, I was hurting myself. Leaving was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was the only way to save us both. I never wanted to be the one to walk away, but your actions left me no choice. Staying was no longer an option, even though it broke my heart to leave. I didn't want to hurt you, but staying meant slowly losing myself, and I couldn't afford to do that anymore. I held on for so long, hoping that things would get better, but the more I held on, the more I realized that the only way to heal was to let go. I didn't want to be the reason for your pain, but I couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay when it wasn't. Walking away was the only way to find peace. I never wanted to hurt you, but staying meant losing myself completely. I had to choose my own sanity, even if it meant breaking both our hearts. I loved you enough to walk away because staying would have destroyed the both of us in the end. Sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that save us. I tried to stay for as long as I could, but in the end, your silence spoke louder than my love ever could. I had no choice but to leave. I wanted to stay, but you kept building walls between us. I had to leave before the distance became an unscalable mountain. I never wanted to hurt you, but the person I was becoming while staying with you was someone I didn't recognize. Walking away was my only way of finding myself again. I never imagined that leaving you would be my only option. But when you stopped fighting for us, I realized that holding on would only hurt us both more. I didn't walk away because I didn't care. I walked away because the pain of staying was becoming unbearable, and I couldn't continue living like that. I waited for you to show me a reason to stay, but every day that passed, you pushed me further away. In the end, I had no choice but to let go. I wanted to stay and fight for us, but every time I tried, you built a higher wall. I had no choice but to walk away, even though it broke me to do so. I didn't want to hurt you, but staying was causing me more pain than I could bear. Leaving was the hardest decision, but it was the only one I had left. I never wanted to hurt you, but holding onto a relationship that was tearing us apart was no longer an option. I had to choose my own happiness, even if it meant breaking your heart. I stayed for as long as I could, but in the end, I realized that staying was only prolonging the inevitable. I had to walk away before we both lost ourselves completely. I didn't want to walk away, but every time I stayed, I felt a part of me dying inside. Leaving was the only way to save myself. I wanted so badly for things to work between us, but every time I tried to fix it, you pushed me away. I had to leave for both of our sakes. I tried to stay for as long as I could, but in the end, your actions left me no choice. I had to choose my own peace over the chaos of staying. I didn't want to hurt you, but staying was breaking me in ways I could no longer ignore. I had to leave before I lost myself completely. I never wanted to be the one to leave, but you gave me no choice. I had to walk away before the weight of our silence crushed me. I held on for as long as I could, but in the end, your actions spoke louder than any words. I had no choice but to let go.